Good afternoon. Let's call the meeting to order. If we would, could we please call the roll? Present. Here. Present.
Present.
Thank you. The chair sees a majority. As a public notice of this meeting was properly posted on November 2nd, 2023, in accordance with the state's Open Meetings Act. At this point, we're going to ask Chad, if you would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. We will now move into the portion of the meeting reserved for public comment. Um, as a reminder to those who will be addressing the assembly today, your comments are allocated a maximum of 3 minutes each. Judge Strong, would you be willing to come to the microphone, please? Thank you for submitting your opportunity to present.
Thank you for having me. My issue is that the jail is not doing the walkthrough because they are short of staff, correct? And I wanted to ask the sheriff if he would please step up and help do the walkthrough just temporary until the jail is able to be fully staffed so that they can do the walkthrough. Because right now we don't have, if you're a bondsman or a person who want to surrender at the jail, they cannot take you in, book you in unless you're arrested on a warrant. So I know that you are short staffed as well, but could we work together and alleviate some of the issues that we have? Because I think it will help greatly if we have that available. Don't you think, Mr. Rabbits? The walkthrough, if the sheriff would step up and help.
I think somebody needs to be doing that.
Well, either do it here at the courthouse like you used to, or do it at your office, as long as we have an avenue for people to come and, a bondsman to come and clear their warrants instead of have to book in jail and then, and then process out instead of just do the walkthrough. Anyone have any questions for me? I think it's something that really needed, and the jail needs help. I mean, and I'm asking you, as a private citizen, that. Okay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our next presenter, Mr. Michael Washington.
Ladies and gentlemen of this jury, well, you want to call me up. I'll get on there a minute and 16 seconds. This is discrimination. I'm not to file a lawsuit here. Let me get Michael Washington, community and political activist, mean motor scooter, booger, and don't play games. That's right. We know that, don't we? Now then, what in the hell is the reason? Y'all heard me, goddamn it. I'm going to speak today because y'all know Michael don't play. When I get to speaking, I don't play. Got to be something got me ticked off for me to say goddamn something. Now then, what's the real reason? That's right. Look at this face. Don't look down, because I know you hear my voice. It resonates throughout the world when I speak. It don't just vanish out there. 222 left. What is the real reason for this malicious, flagrant disregard for our citizens' rights in this county jail setting? I'm not talking about the short of the step only being in and not being able to get out. That's just a small, minute microcosm of a larger scale disruptions and illegal activity. Wow. I'm here today to propose that crazy conclusion to put that jail way out there in no man's land is only designed to prevent families from visiting their loved ones as equally as many times they're able to do now, Because a lot of us can ride the bus downtown, go back home. Why no man's land? Because you know then you're going to be able to continue to get away with violating the civil and constitutional rights of those you can find who have been convicted. That's right. Now, are y'all ready for this one? Everybody out here listen to me, because I'm not playing. I'm going to file a lawsuit on y'all, the Oklahoma County commissioners, if you even accept that land out there, which was through your proposal, y'all, it had to go to y'all before it got to them. You want to know why? Because I believe there's some ironic, malicious, flagrant agreement, some ulterior motive behind being given that land. Michael, you don't have any evidence. No, I don't right now. But I tell you what, when the time comes up, doing the so-called breaking of the ground, I'm going to be there, and y'all going to have one of my patented lawsuits. It's going to be there to disrupt that measure. I love doing it. You want to know why? Because I have a constitutional right to do so. You say if you don't stand for a whole lot of things, you fall for everything. Michael, don't do that. I'm going to be here for the people, by the people, and other people, because I'm assigned to do that by God, the creator of us all, who we all going to go back to when the time is right. That's right. Y'all thought y'all going to silence this voice? Not quite. I fight for the rights of those people in jail. They can be in heaven if they want to, because I know my train is going that way one day later. Let me say, because the time is expired. Thank you, Mr. Buck. Bing!
Next up, Jess Eddy, 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm here to speak on agenda items number 8, the sheriff transportation agreement, and number 12, the $1.5 million funding request. As a concerned member of the community, I asked Pastor Michael McDaniel of Northeast Baptist pastor and the Baptist Ministers Association, whose son also works at the jail, to join me. I asked permission to speak on behalf of Miss Marilyn Looper to be here today, who couldn't make it due to an injury, and expecting a friend, Jabbar Shumate of the Urban League, who's also invested in community work on the Northeast side, to join us. On the first matter, I spent yesterday afternoon too much of the evening unenjoyably scouring through statutes to find instruction from state law on who should be responsible for the transportation of detainees to and from a detention facility. And what is clear is that the roles and responsibilities for the operations and maintenance of a detention facility have been listed out, enumerated by the law for detention management and operations, and they do not include the transportation of inmates. So I recall, I think history always informs us as to why and where we are today. I think it's important that we recall we had a very acrimonious trade-off from the previous sheriff, and that is the only explanation I can muster as to why there's this financial agreement between the trust and the sheriff, because it just doesn't make sense from a book standpoint. If the county is supposedly funding it, why it would be being funneled through the trust for a service that they're not supposed to provide. So I think that MOU, whatever there, needs to be addressed and taken seriously. Finally, the jail continues to be the humanitarian crisis of our generation. And I have not seen the level of investment in the current facility that I think humanities and humanitarian causes requires of us. I know we're all looking forward to a new facility that seems further and further back upon the horizon the more we read the news stories about it. And I know you all are ardently pursuing that. But I think this 1.5 million is the least we can do to alleviate the pain we're suffering because of the terrible intake facility. We just can't get the lawyers, the service providers, the mental health assessments, the physical health assessments that we need to reduce the population and take care of our people. And I think that's a huge priority that the county probably has some resources for. I'd like to see the jail trust advocate for that by passage of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Tina Taylor, 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tina Taylor, and I'm here for my son who's been housed at the Oklahoma County Jail for over 12 months. There has been, for the first 9 months, everything was okay with. But lately, there's been certain lieutenants and sergeants, go as far as telling him they're going to put a rope around his neck. They wish they could put a rope around his neck and could hang him or drag him behind a motorcycle. They have put him in harm's way. He's not a gang member. And they put him in a pod full of gang members that were saying they were going to hurt him. They moved him. Another lieutenant said, I don't know why they did that. They moved him again, put him in another pod with gang members. And another lieutenant again said, I don't know what's going on. Finally, he was in a pod with someone. Everything was fine. The chief operating officer came in and told him they were putting him on 12. And for what reason? He doesn't know, and I don't know. They left all of his belongings that he had to pay for, which we put money on his books to get these belongings. And my son has had extensive surgery in his mouth. He had to have a rib, 2 ribs to replace his mandible. And so it's important for him to have his toothbrush and toothpaste. They threw all his stuff away. His pillow, toothbrush, toothpaste. I talked to a Michelle Gossett, and she said they had no reason to do that because he was not leaving the facility and that it would be replaced. It was never replaced. He ordered more stuff, but found out he can't get a pillow for another year. You can't just keep ordering pillows. They never brought the pillow. Now he's on 12. The chief operating officer said he would get out every day for an hour and he would not get out on the weekends. He has not been out in 7 days. 7 days. No shower, no bath, and he just got his new toothbrush, toothpaste, and those things, but still can't get a pillow. Why they are wanting to intimidate him and treat him like this, I don't know, but it is heartbreaking to see how these people are treated at the county. It is really heartbreaking. I don't know if these lieutenants have a special bandana against my son to want to put a rope around his neck and drag him. I've never heard of this, and I worked at the county 10 years. I've never heard of this kind of action. Never.
All right.
Thank you. Our final public presenter today, Mr. Bob Ravitz. 3 minutes, Mr. Ravitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I wanted trust to be aware of the following incidents. First of all, the week before last, because the computers went down, numerous people didn't get out of jail when they were supposed to. I understand that. Okay, then last Wednesday, a lady was supposed to get out of jail. She was given an OR bond for a $400 bogus check that she had written in 2014. Okay, she was on probation for it. Okay, the jail was to let her out on Wednesday. They did not let her out on Wednesday, even though she was supposed to get out on Wednesday. Friday, they realized that they had made a mistake, which I understand does in fact happen, and they said they would let her out. She was supposed to be put on a team bond with the team, which works in conjunction with my office. And we were notified by the jail she'd be let out Friday night. This morning, we were called by her brother because she was still in the jail. This is after the jail administration knew, and the major told his staff to let her out Friday night. We've got documentation and emails, and it's not being done. You all have a duty when a release is given by a judge or a bond is made to immediately let him go, not 3 days later. And that's what's happening on a regular basis. And that's got to stop. So I have a real bad concern about that. And I'm going to tell you right now, anyone we get from now on, there'll be emails. So there'll be documentation because my staff has been told to email me on every little thing, and I intend to email the chairman and the vice chairman as well as the jail major and the jail administrator because this is wrong, and you all are responsible to make these changes. And I'm tired of hearing the excuse over and over again, we don't have sufficient staff. And the same thing goes, last week, one of my young lawyers wanted to see one of her clients in the jail. So she goes on to the website, no visits available for 2.5 weeks. Let me tell you, if you don't see your client, they stay in the jail. If they stay in the jail, your numbers go up and it costs you all a lot more. So that's a serious issue. So we finally called, got a hold of the major, and the major says, give her a time this week. And she called over there and I said, oh, we have plenty of time all over the place. So I don't know what's going on, but for whatever reason, public, and this is going on constantly, my lawyers cannot see their clients. They can't see their clients. They can't get out. Now, there has been an improvement, but I want you to understand with regards to assessments. Assessments are needed to get somebody drug court, mental health court, or community sentencing. And I promised Mr. Buck that I wouldn't say anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the submitted public comment. I want to, number one, extend appreciation for each of you who spent time with us today. And second, acknowledge you were all very diligent with the time allowed. And I want to say thank you for that. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. This will be the minutes of our October 2nd, 2023 meeting. Are there any amendments to those minutes, or is there a motion to accept?
Motion to approve.
There's been a motion to approve by Member Davidson. Is there a second? Seconds by Sheriff Johnson. If you would, please mark your ballots. Abstain.
Yes. 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 Yes.
The motion passes by a vote of 6-0-1. Next item on our agenda is the, I'm out of practice.
Invoices and claims.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is invoices and claims.
Good afternoon. How is everybody? Has everybody had a chance to review the invoices and claims from the previous month? There was nothing out of the ordinary from previous months. Everything's pretty much stayed the same. So there's really nothing to report as far as any major changes in those areas.
Motion to approve. Second.
There has been a motion and a second regarding the approval of invoices and claims. Is there any debate, any discussion? Seeing none, please mark your ballots. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Moving to agenda item number 3, a item to receive, accept, and discuss reports provided by CEO Brandy Garner.
Good afternoon. So there's a lot of information that I'm going to throw at you all today, and I didn't even bring my notes because I feel like they just they don't really help. First, I'm going to go over a brief update of just some things that I don't necessarily have slides on, but I need to make you all aware of. I'll give you an employee update. I want to talk about our population. We'll talk about a website update, the pod renovations, and the launch of something called our care unit. So the first couple of quick updates, we have hired a full-time recruiter. Her name is Charity Gaspard, and she does have experience. She hit the ground running about a week and a half ago. She has a lot of ideas as far as what she can do to improve our recruiting and she'll be collecting data on that as well, so we can see where our efforts are better spent. So very excited to have somebody in that position. It's something that's been needed for quite a while. Starting today, we also have Westat staff there for the National Inmate Survey for PREA. They'll be there all week long. We have worked out a plan, so we were able to do this on our own. We're utilizing recreational yards, and they brought up partitions to provide the level of privacy that's needed in order to conduct the surveys, and I've assigned 2 staff members to that. Also, last month I had the opportunity to give a presentation to Leadership OKC, and it was a really great experience. We talked about some of the issues that the jail is facing, and the feedback that I got from that is that it was very eye-opening. There were a lot of things that they didn't quite have any knowledge of or they didn't understand. Previous to this, they had done ride-alongs with Oklahoma City Police Department, and some of them did get to do a walkthrough of the facility as they were making arrest. And so me being able to speak to them kind of brought it full circle for them. And I think they have a better understanding of all the challenges that we are currently facing in this current facility. We are still pouring into our people. All of our leaders are going through some form of leadership training. Our new training director is putting together curriculum for leadership. So when somebody is newly promoted, they'll go through kind of a mini academy, hoping it's going to be about a week long, just to give them the fundamentals that they need in order to be successful leaders. And then finally, I've started doing one-on-one meetings with our staff. Started in the receiving area because we do have a number of issues in the intake discharge area. Information is very enlightening, and I plan on acting on a lot of the information that I've been receiving. We're looking at ways to improve efficiencies. I think that we do have, you know, it's easy in that area to get stuck on that's the way we've always done it, and thinking outside the box is sometimes necessary in order to accomplish everything that they have to do. So those are just some small updates that I just needed to make y'all aware of. We're currently at 258 employees. And while that number does seem low, it's important to note that the number of people that are security certified that can actually work hand in hand with people that are in our care has actually increased. So that is very encouraging. So we have a new academy that is beginning on November 27th. And just as a reminder, it's going to be 4 weeks long. They will have more reality-based training. They're doing a lot of hands-on stuff in the jail, which the feedback from that has been very positive. After that, they're going to do 6 weeks of on-the-job training, and they'll be assigned to an officer, and they'll be evaluated on their performance. This is a total of 400 hours of training, and it is a significant increase from previous academies. For November 27th, we don't know what that number looks like yet. We're still early in the month, but we do have 11 current employees that are looking forward to going through that academy. These are civilian staff that have said, raised their hand and said, I'm willing to go through the academy so I can be a better help in the safety and the security of the facility. And then we have about 31 people that are in background, and we've done just about as many interviews. So it's looking very promising. Just as a reminder, the DSO position is a newly created position. It's the former civilians that we used to have. It's a detention support officer, so their primary function may be sitting at a desk performing the clerical functions that they normally do. However, when the need arises, they'll be expected to get up and assist with anything from feeding, medication, site checks, or just moving people up and down through the facility to be able to facilitate whatever it is, whether it's releasing or housing new people, taking them to medical and whatnot. We did graduate the largest academy to date under the Jail Trust just a few weeks ago. We had 13 detention officers that ended up graduating and 7 DSOs. They're currently in the on-the-job training portion, and so far retention is excellent. everybody is going through this training. All new hires will be going through this training. A little bit about medical ORs. We did identify 22 in October, 12 remain in custody, and there's some information on perhaps why they're still in custody. 10 of them were released, and that's 2 that were granted medical ORs, and then 8 were released by any other means. Some of them did have holds, and they were just released to other counties, or they bonded out, or what have you. Interesting statistic on the top 10 charges for our current population. The number 1 is a carry or possession of firearm by convicted felon. We do have a number of holds. Some of those are going to be city holds. They're not all out of state or out of county, and obviously they're going to have some outstanding charges associated with them. If we have that many, they're not staying in custody, indefinitely. We do have a significant portion of people that are in there for domestics. We also have a significant portion of people that are in custody for substance-related charges. Our daily head count still trending downward. We were at an all-time low of 1367 towards the end of October, and that was at the beginning of a Friday. So that's very encouraging. The average number of people that were booked in is 56. The average daily population for the month was 1477, and the average length of stay was just under 7 days. This is just information on our special housing. Mental health observation it's more or less steady. Our DOC sentenced population continues to go down. And then some of our others are just remaining steady as far as the people that are on administrative segregation or disciplinary segregation. And there's a lot of information on this screen, but our population is 1,381. And if you compare this to this time last year, it was 1,626. We have 33 veterans in custody. We have 60 people that have identified as homeless. Our JNS count, or our DOC sentenced people, is down to 129. I haven't seen it that low in quite some time. And of course, 190 people are age 50 or above. This just reinforces that our population is still trending downward throughout the years since the trust took over. I wanted to provide you guys an update on our website. I don't know if you've gone to our website lately, but we have completely revamped it, and it's still going to be updated as we go along. We just had to get it out there, so we've got some of the fundamentals on there. One of the most significant changes is that we have a tip hotline now, so people can call or email, submit a form, and give us information on things that may be going on in the jail that we can actually act on. We also have fillable forms for the job application, and as soon as we launched this, our HR director, Michelle, received an application within 5 minutes. So that has been a huge increase. We've seen a huge increase for the applications that we're receiving just because we made it more accessible and easier for people to apply. We also have links to resources. We have a whole list of FAQs, and we'll continue to add on to that. Each one of you are also listed on there, so you might check that out. And if you want it updated, let us know. No, sir. The pod renovations are ongoing. As a reminder, we have shut down the 8th floor. We were able to do that through proactive inmate management and assistance from the courts. And we're taking advantage of that opportunity by renovating those pods. This is the 8th floor. We've gotten pretty far. The damage in there was extensive. We had a really volatile population that was previously housed in there. And so there's a lot of damage that has been done. But overall, by the time it's done, they're going to look like the picture on the right. And then eventually we'll be doing, the picture on the left is the shower area. Eventually we'll be doing the showers as well, just to brighten them up. A lot of the showers are still very gray and dingy. And then you can't have lighting in there just because of the way the facility is built. So it just makes for a very dark showering experience, and we want to brighten that up to increase the reflectivity and also the durability of the walls and our ability to be able to clean it properly. And finally, I wanted to talk about the launch of the care unit. This is community assistance, resource, and empowerment. This is a new position that we created. They're going to have a dedicated email, a phone number, and they have an online form already. Lieutenant Crystal Ross is heading that up, and eventually we plan to grow that. We moved her office into the lobby, so just next to reception, so she can catch people coming in to the family members that are coming in, and then she can also catch people as they're going out to provide them with the resources that they may need. She's also going to be collecting data just to determine the prevalence of certain issues. So if it's something that we can address proactively, then we'll certainly do so. The purpose of it is to create a connection between the families and the people that are in our care. It provides reassurance to the families that their loved ones' needs are being met. It assists with addressing quality of life concerns, and it provides resources to the loved ones and to the people that are in our care. There's a whole packet of paper flyers that we have put out in the lobby on a kiosk, and we'll continue to grow that resource as we get documentation from other agencies and people that we partner with. And then just as a reminder, mail scanning started November 1st. We still have all of our mailroom staff because we're trying to determine what that looks like for us moving forward. There is a good chance that we will receive additional mail from attorneys and medical mail, and we just don't know what that looks like. So everything's staying the same on our end, with the exception of we're not receiving any of the personal email or personal mail. And that is my report. Is there any questions, comments, concerns?
Are there any questions for the CEO?
I have a question. Could you please address the situation that the public defender brought up here as far as what happened in that situation? Because that's concerning to me individually as a trustee.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, people have a right to their counsel, and getting them out of there quickly is
Mhm.
very important. Could you address what happened?
Well, as far as the access to counsel, we identified that one of the issues is that the website wasn't updating with the available time slots. So it just appeared that people didn't have time slots available. I have met with them and we've told them that if they need an appointment, they can call and we'll get them in. I've made it very clear to Major Logan that that's something that we have to prioritize. And so don't know what happened there. As far as the person that did not get released until much later, I completely find that unacceptable as well. That is a failure on our staff, and we will be taking disciplinary measures against the people that were involved and responsible for that. We have the network project that is going on. It has caused us a number of headaches. There were a lot of things that we are having to reverse engineer because they weren't hooked up the way that they were supposed to be in the first place. And last week it was with the courthouse, and we had to go switch back to the county's network temporarily to address those issues and work through them. I think some of those issues have been resolved, but it's just a matter of getting it over. I mean, we didn't expect that it was going to be this painful getting over to the network, but unfortunately it is, and our plan to fail actually failed. So I don't anticipate that it's going to be an ongoing issue. And really, if you think about it, the network project is one of the sole purposes is to increase efficiencies. And if that helps with the releasing process, the booking process, or any other process that we have in place, then, I'm all for it. It's just, it's not fun going through it right now.
Thank you.
Other questions? Would you mind entertaining a couple from me?
Sure.
Okay. First, I'm excited about the promise of what the care unit can be. Operating hours now are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
They are.
When would be the most frequent time that we might encounter people who are becoming involved with the detention center?
Not in those hours.
I appreciate that candor and really applaud taking that step. You mentioned that you would like to prioritize expansion. I think meeting the needs of the people who rely upon us would be good. So I hope you can evaluate that. The second I wanted to ask, I just caught as you were walking through here, we have 33 self-reported veterans. We are 4 days out from our annual acknowledgement and celebration day of Veterans Day. So I wanted to ask a couple of questions about our veterans population.
I'll certainly try to answer them.
33 is our self-report. Would you anticipate that the number of actual men and women who served in armed forces is greater?
So it's actually, I had them confirm those numbers through the Veterans Service. So that is 33 confirmed veterans.
Okay.
But I do believe that the number is probably much higher. We just haven't been able to identify them yet because they, a lot of them typically do not want to admit that they have military service, or they don't feel as if it's worth mentioning.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And I appreciate you pursuing that. How does that 33 self-reported, how does that compare as what percentage of those 33 would be classified as homeless? What percentage of those 33 might be DOC bound? How does it play out statistically when you look at the veterans that we serve?
Interestingly enough, I looked at that this morning, and none of the veterans we have are listed as having homeless. They're not homeless. None of them are currently sentenced. We do have, let me get my little cheat sheet here. We do have one that has a hold. I did break it down by population, just as charges and categories, because I thought that was interesting. 26 of them are being held on felony charges, 6 of them on misdemeanor charges. On the misdemeanors, the average day in custody is 65, and that is due to one individual who has been there for 272 days on a misdemeanor charge. And I looked into him further, and it had been continued over and over again for a competency hearing. He was found incompetent, and he's been waiting to be transported to Bonita since the 1st of October. The average length of stay for the people that have felony charges is 231 days. And then, of course, our hold has been there for just a little bit. We did have, let's see, as far as the charge categories go, 5 of them are in there for domestic. 1 has CDS charges. 2 have alcohol-related charges, and they're aggravated as well. 6 of them are sex offenders, are listed as sex offenders. 2 are in for homicide. 5 are in for assault charges. There's 1 that is in for traffic. And then I recently found out they had filed for a warrant, which is why he's still in custody, a felony warrant for a violent charge. 1 has a hold, 2 have protective order violations, and then 8 of them are just other miscellaneous charges. When I say miscellaneous, it's not to downplay them, because some of them were quite serious: shooting with intent to kill, possession of a firearm, that kind of thing.
I appreciate you doing the diligence on that. It occurs to me editorially that we certainly have an obligation to provide detention with excellence, and that's what that conversation is about relative to access to counsel. That's all important. We have to be excellent there, but I would also say we're uniquely positioned to provide data into the public domain that public policymakers can use to help design a better, more responsive criminal justice system. So I appreciate your diligence there, and hopefully in subsequent meetings we can explore other populations that we should talk about.
I agree. And I think having the network project done is going to help a lot, because we'll have a digital means of collecting data.
I'm sorry, I need to go back to attorneys having the opportunity to visit their clients. If they log on, the system says that there are no visitation slots available, but there are several. Is that monitored by your staff? Or, is there a backup? Because something should kick up and say, well, we've got these slots, but when attorneys are logging on, they're seeing no slots available.
I think the issue is that, well, number one, our system was up and down all last week. But the other issue is that our staff was seeing one thing, but the public-facing domain was showing something completely different. that's as best as I can figure out. But they do also have the option to visit over the tablets for a free, non-recorded attorney visit. So, I mean, and I know that not every attorney visit is going to be able to be done that way, but using technology to our advantage, especially when we're already struggling, I think is going to be key in um, ensuring that we're making sure that they have access.
And you may not have the, the staff for this, but something like on call or something so that attorneys can call and say, okay, is this correct? There's no visitation slots available. Just as a backup, because I know it's got to be frustrating for them, especially if they're trying to get their clients out of jail and the system is holding them in there. So again, I know you have a lot going on, but somebody on call or something that they can call and say, is this correct? There are no slots available, et cetera.
There is a number they can call, and they can. I mean, we're not going to turn away any attorney if they're determined to visit them. Then they, will make it happen. If they're not in any slots and they know that they need to see their client, then we can certainly make sure that they get in to do that. We've done that even on the weekends for attorneys that had last minute visit requests, to the point where I've had a shift commander pull the detainee to visit with their attorney and sit with them and make sure and provide security. So, I mean, they're doing what they can as far as access, but I do admit that the network project has put a damper on that over the past week and a half or so.
Is that number available when they log on? It's right there. Or do they have to go to another site, another page for the phone number you're talking about that they can call?
The numbers, I think the numbers on the website. Don't quote me on that, but I mean, most of them have been working in this space long enough. They have the access to the phone number. It's not a matter of them not having the phone number.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? I would just editorially sign off. Mr. Ravitz, I'd love to see you next month with updates on what your perceptions have been relative to addressing this. Okay. Is there a motion to accept the director's report? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any debate or discussion? And seeing none, if we'd call the roll. I believe Mr. Johnson had the motion.
I got it.
Yes.
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 Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the chief financial reports. Chris Sherman.
Thank you. Glad I'm not in Mr. Alma's shoes these past several days. As far as the financial situation of the jail, we're holding fairly steady. If you look at the numbers, they're fairly similar to last month. I'll go over some of the major changes as far as revenue. Total income in August was $3,236,581, which gave us a positive variance of $7,256. Let's see. And from other sources of income for the month were DOC $179,955. The telephone revenue was at $120,547, which the minimum guarantee is $104,000. So we're starting to see hopefully that continue to go up. And then our ARPA reimbursement for the networking project was $117,353. On our expenses, our total expenses for September were $2,860,651 for a favorable variance of $485,345. Of that, salaries, wages, and benefits totaled $1,504,000 for the month and below budget by $324,959. Our detainee on-site medical care stayed steady at $666,000 for the month. Our off-site medical care was $85,645, which was $17,645 above budget. The utility bill for electricity was $42,144, which was below budget by $1,856. and our professional services and legal fees were $26,530. Just want to touch on a couple of things real quick. Um, We've received the GPSs for the vehicles, and we will be getting those installed this week. Let's see. Oh, on the styros, we've gone from about 16,000 a month or a week to we're down to about 4,000 currently. So that number's slowly, hopefully continually to go down. One of the places that Donna from Turnkey has shown that we might have some savings is when it comes to medications. As an example, inhalers, those are about $300 a piece. And if an inmate puffs on it once, they throw it out. Well, they make cardboard extenders that you can put on and just throw away, so that if inmates that have the same dosage, we can reuse those inhalers without having to spend monthly money on that. Because at $300 a pop, and they throw them in a big box, and it's a pretty big box. So other than that, that is all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me. Yes, ma'am.
I don't recall typically, but the off-site medical care seems high. It's at 85?
Yes, ma'am. It was
85,000?
about 17,000 higher than it normally is.
Okay. Do we have some people who are chronically ill,
I don't know.
terribly ill?
Do we have any?
Increased immune system, dialysis, cancer, we name it, we have it. We provide a community standard of care. So we don't have them miss appointments. We send them right back out to their providers to ensure a community standard.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for our financial report? Just one quick from the chair, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
A subsequent item that we'll be addressing is setting our meeting date for 2024. The theory behind moving that was by doing second Monday, you'd be able to provide comprehensive financial reports for each time the trust meets. Are you confident you can meet that objective?
Absolutely. The only reason we didn't have it for this month, it really did stem from the technical problems we had. We were not able to get information to our CPA in time for them to get those records done. So,
But second Monday, you should be consistently able to
yes,
provide.
sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the financial reports. Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Agenda item number 5 is the receipt, acceptance, and discussion of the information technology report. This is a timely discussion. Mark, I believe you're stepping in for Jeff since he's actively working the network issues as we speak.
Yes, he is actually working on an issue right now with the phones at the jail that just popped up within the last hour and a half. So he asked me to step in. Now I don't claim I'll be able to answer any questions, but anything you really need to know, I can get that information to Jeff, and then I can either respond in an email later at a later hour if there's anything pressing you need to know. But for the first part of this, there we go. It's not that. Did I not send that one earlier today?
Don't give up your day job.
Just want to grab the paper that we provided. The first part in this is he provided with updates for the Wi-Fi, the network infrastructure, mobile devices, and the website. Page number 3 talks about the infrastructure network and the Wi-Fi project, which that began on October 23rd. That was the network and server hardware installation. That was the one that took a lot of areas offline unexpectedly for a couple of days. He worked through last weekend and through this last week getting those fixed up, and he says those were completed on the 4th. The next area, he says that they ran into the issues affected the connectivity for users internally and, of course, the external ones as well. He says those are 100% operational now. Again, but right now, what he's dealing with is a phone issue that of sending, connecting the phones over to our own system from the county system as well. The Wi-Fi, we have about 50% of it completed in the building. He's got about 50% more to go. Mobile devices. They are completing the configuration of the system. They say the server side of the system is completed and testing will commence once application configuration is completed. They said they plan to go live on operations. The go live operations planning meetings are ongoing right now to try to figure out what that looks like. He says the system should be ready to go live in about 4 weeks. Of course, he says that's been delayed because of the network installation issues. So it should have been going sooner than that, but he says he's going to have to push it back a little bit because of these network issues that he's dealing with right now. And the website. Ms. Gardner talked about it earlier. The website, it is up and running. There are a few issues, things with it that are working on right now to get the connectivity. The jail tracker system is not operational on the website. There is a link to the outside where people can go to so they can get mugshots. It's mostly used by the media. That is down right now. That's actually an issue with jail tracker and not us. We need to get them, we're waiting for information to give them, I guess, IP addresses in order for them to get that back up. So on the outside, you won't be able to access jail tracker from the website at this point. But from what I'm told, it should be an issue that should be fixed within the next day or so, hopefully sooner. As far as the website goes, that is one thing that they've been working hard on for the last probably 6 or 7 months. They should be up and running probably by the end of the week. There are some little issues here and there. Of course, me being the communications director, I've also spotted a few typos here and there that I let them know about. And so if you see anything when you go check it out, let us know, let me know, and I can pass that information along.
Are there any questions for Mark on the IT?
One. And you may not be able to answer this, I understand that. You said 50% of the Wi-Fi has been complete?
Yes.
And when do we expect the other 50% to be complete?
Of course, that was the last page on here. I forgot about that. He says that should be completed by Friday.
Friday?
Yes.
Mark, I would add that I know this last weekend that some out-facing communications went out advising people that we were going through the upgrade, and maybe that wasn't done the first weekend, but from this point forward, I think it's good to send external-facing constituents. Certainly you're doing it internally, that they're aware. I know that Commissioner Davidson, when you do a road project in your district, you advise that that's happening so that people can be aware and be planning. So please continue to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is there a motion to accept the report? There has been a motion. Is there a second? Any debate or discussion on the item? Seeing no debate or discussion, please call the roll. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
The motion is passed. We'll now move to agenda item number 6, which is a report from the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority Citizens Advisory Board. Is there a representative of the CAB here today to make that report? Don't believe we can recognize you for that, Mr. Washington, but thank you for the good try. Seeing none, we will not take action on this item and move to agenda item number 7, which is a discussion and possible action on a memorandum of understanding with the Board of County Commissioners on behalf of the sheriff to provide transportation services. I'm sorry, did I skip one? I'm 7. My apologies. Number 7, discussion and possible action to approve a statement of work with OMES, Oklahoma Management Enterprise Services, to provide redundant circuitry and necessary upgrades. Jeff was going to present this one. Is there somebody who will present this item in his absence? You're up, Ms. Garner.
Well, I'm not an IT person, but hopefully if you have any questions, I'm able to answer them. My understanding is that this is absolutely necessary for us. It is part of the project as it was listed in ARPA. It's something that was previously approved under the umbrella of ARPA when you all voted to allow us to move forward on those projects. We just delayed this part of it because there was no sense in paying for the service if we weren't going to utilize it because the network wasn't up. But now that we're to that point, we just need to make sure that you all approve the contract to make sure that we can move forward.
This is primarily to provide redundancy, and it's, since we're switching over to a different network, that network is causing us to become redundant. So we're doing this as a fail safe, so stuff like this doesn't happen in the future. So,
Correct.
So it's a backup, Commissioner?
yeah,
Thank you.
it's backup. Motion to approve.
There's been a motion. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to approve this item. Is there any debate or discussion? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll. Yes.
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 The motion passes 7-0. Now we will get to the action item. I was trying to get there earlier. Agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action to approve a minimum memorandum of understanding with the Board of County Commissioners on behalf of the Oklahoma County Sheriff to provide transportation services to the detention center. Ms. Garner, are you the presenter on this item, or should I go elsewhere?
Well, I'm the one that submitted it for approval. We've gone back and forth on whether or not we think that we should move forward on this. At this point, I am neutral. However, if the board decides that you want to approve this, the terms of the agreement are something that we have negotiated and I'm comfortable with.
I would like to speak on this matter.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Eddy spoke about how this came to be in our budget when the transfer from the jail trust or from the jail was separated so that the sheriff went one way and the jail stayed the other. At that time, they also had to separate out the budget. And the budget for the jail stayed the same as in 2017, 2018. However, all of the items in the jail cost changed. The budget stayed the same amount at the bottom line, but we had we had increased cost in other areas that the jail had never paid for in the past. One was legal fees that were over $1 million. I could go on and on, except I've kind of forgotten most of them. But this one was one that was never in the jail budget, but for some reason, when the two got together, they added the sheriff's transportation. I think that was a mistake, but you've heard us speak time and time again how we need more funding. And we actually are about $5-6 million below what we were at 2018 because of these different charges we're paying that the jail didn't have in the past. And then on the other issue of whether we even should be paying for the transportation, in the trust indenture, we were accepted from responsibility. In fact, we were excluded from responsibility for transportation between the jail and the courthouse. Also, we were excluded from responsibility for the jail at the top of the courthouse. So the only facility and responsibility the jail trust has is right there at the jail. It's been said, well, why don't we just be a conduit for the transportation costs? But that's not the correct way to do it. It also causes the jail to have responsibility for the transportation, responsibility liability. And it should not fall on the jail trust. The sheriff does a very good job of transporting So I don't expect there to be any liability there, but it still should not be on the jail trust. But I would ask that we eliminate this cost while keeping our budget the same, which is still going to be about 5 million below what it was in 2018. But as we whittle away some of these expenses, I think we'll get more in equilibrium with where we were in 2018 at least. I don't want to go back in terms of operations, but I would at least like to move forward with cost and with our budget and with our income. So I would propose that we do not accept the memorandum because we're taking on a responsibility that we actually don't have.
You know, respectfully, I don't see it that way. I understand what you're saying when you talk about costs that were assumed when, the county chose to go into, this structure unknowing what the future would present. I think when they made the separation, they didn't know the financial implications of it at the time, but we see that in reality now. If it were not for the transportation budget, I mean, that budget pays for those 10 men and women who work there, who transport back and forth to the county so that they can do their judicial service, their judicial business. And so if it weren't for that money, I mean, nobody's moving prisoners.
I would agree that the sheriff's department is using that to pay for the transportation, but that money in the past was used to pay for the DOs at the jail. And
Well,
so the cost, the income, the salary for the DOs is dramatically below even what McDonald's was paying for line workers at one time. I think they've gone back down below $15, but that's kept the jail budget extremely low and the salaries extremely low. And that's part of the reason we cannot attract more employees because the salaries are so low. And the salaries are so low because we had to keep the salaries the same as in prior years without increasing. And I believe everybody else in the county they enjoyed a 7.5% increase last year. This year they had an increase also, but luckily and gratefully the jail got the increase also this year, but they're still several years behind.
I understand that, but once again, when you talk about why that cost was put on the sheriff, because the whole operation was the sheriff's, from the jail to the transportation to the 11th floor to the courthouse deputies. So you're talking about one budget assumed all those responsibilities. So now when you separate those two entities and you say the trust is going to take over, it's going to assume its own role and it's going to take over the responsibilities of the sheriff when you talk about housing inmates at a facility and the care of the inmates in the facility, and you say the sheriff's going to take on the role where we just are a law enforcement agency and we take care of the public buildings that we're required to keep safe. Now that transportation MOU becomes important because now that's the folks who are transporting the prisoners from the jail, who's now a separate entity, to this facility so that they can do their judicial work and handle their judicial business. And so that's why it was all under the same budget. But once again, these are this is what happens when you make changes and you don't understand all the financial implications and things that come with those changes down the road. But once again, we see them now, and so I think it's something I support because without that, I mean, it's paying for those 10 men and women again who transport.
Let me ask you a question, Sheriff. Is it the MOU you support or the dollars?
It's the dollars because
Okay,
that's how we pay for those guys.
So if we didn't do an MOU and the budget board did not give the jail trust the money for this and they just assigned it straight to you, it's still.
That is just, that's just operational stuff. I just want the guys and gals paid because once again, that's the way they get paid to do their job. And so
I know
whether it's MOU or whatever process we choose, just so long as they get paid, that's all I care about.
Yeah, and I know everybody's budgets are extremely tight around here. I try to tell people all the time that this entire county only runs off of $120 million. So we're arguing about $750,000, and it's a very big deal to both sides of this argument. Not only the jail trust and the operations of your operation as well. And you and I are in an odd spot. Mm-hmm. We have to wear dual hats here, yes. So it's one of those things that puts you and I in a very difficult spot that we have to look at. So I think the MOU is an easy thing to not have to operate. you don't have to have an MOU. The way I read statutes, you don't have to have an MOU to actually do this. You're charged with it anyway. It's just the money of the operation is the way I see it.
Yes.
So,
And the money is just what solidifies the agreement. So you know these guys and gals are getting paid. But if you're saying the county's just going to take it directly from the jail trust, give it to the sheriff's office, so we pay those guys directly from our fund, like I said, it's just process.
Yeah.
Just as long as they get paid.
well, I know that that's possible.
Mhm.
I also know that it takes more votes than just you and I.
Mhm.
So,
So what you're saying today is if the MOU fails here, those guys could potentially not get paid based on votes not going on the other side, votes not adding up.
yeah, that's quite possible.
So we got 10 folks
yeah, no, that would
whose
be
jobs are in limbo.
and I would hope that each individual that's elected to be on the budget board would take that into consideration. So I think you're absolutely 100%. That's exactly what is the danger in that situation. And for that reason, acting on this now might not be the best idea. We may want to do it money first and then MOU second.
Mhm.
Because so looking at this from a trust member, liabilities issue number one for protecting the trust. It's
Mhm.
also, we also have to consider protecting the county. Issue number two is $750,000. We are paying for the service. You have to have that money to pay your guys. We have to find money as trust member to do everything we can inside that jail.
Mm.
It's a balancing act that's impossible to pull off. We're going to fall one way or the other. There's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. In this situation, I feel like $750,000 isn't going to make a big enough impact on her budget to make a difference. It may be one of those things that she tells me just by the look on her face that $750,000 makes a very big impact. But as a county, I think there's other ways that we can look at filling those holes. And I for one, am getting very tired of robbing Peter to pay Paul in this county, and I feel like we continuously do that. So,
In that regard, I think the jail trust was robbed to pay
Peter,
Peter. Yeah, I couldn't tell which one,
Yeah.
because that puts us below the budget of 2018. It still puts us below the budget of 2018.
well,
And we're at a
absolutely.
half of the staff that we need. I don't think any other agency in the county is at half of the staff that they need. And everybody has to tighten up. But if we're going to keep watching these numbers go down. 258 is absolutely abhorrent. But it's because of salaries. It's salary driven. Where are we more at danger of risk, loss of life? We're at a huge risk when we cannot have the staff there to take care of the people who are entrusted in our custody. We don't bring those people here. We just accept them, and it's our responsibility to take care of them. 258 people, that's stretching it. That's truly, truly stretching it. And that's because we have a lower budget now than we did in 2018. Nobody else has a lower budget.
No, I think you see that across the board in government, honestly. Everybody's budgets is lower. Inflation has killed us all. The jail has been the stepchild and treated as such for a very long time. Not just since the trust took it over, but even when the sheriff had it before. There's a reason that that building was as in bad shape that it was 3 years ago when we took it over.
That was another issue. There was practically no money being spent on maintenance. The jail trust has been spending money on maintenance. So we're at the 2018 budget, but we're spending money on items that we did not have to in the past. So we've given up. Thank God the DA came in and started becoming our legal counselor. That's been remarkable, putting money back into the budget. This is another way that it truly is the jail trust budget. It's been going out, not at the current sheriff's, it's not his cause. It's not his, he didn't try to do that. He inherited a budget also that was from the prior sheriff. But then they're able to give raises that we're not. And that's the problem.
Yeah, I fully understand that.
Well,
Sheriff, I mean,
I w-
I'm thinking that we might want to possibly delay action on this until, I don't know, honestly. I mean, it's a money issue. It's a money issue for you. It's a money issue for the trust.
it's just the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Because like you say, if I'm inclined to make the motion, because if it dies here, and on the other side, on the on our county side, if it dies there, now we got 10 people who are unemployed, and no transportation is happening, and then we have other issues that come from that. And so I guess that's where my head's at.
From what I've read in the statutes, the sheriff is responsible for transportation between the jail. That's one of their primary responsibilities, between the jail and the courthouse. The trust's primary responsibility is to take care of the people in the jail. We both have responsibilities, but you have mentioned this before, that you have a conflict as the sheriff and then also on the jail trust, taking care of your budget, which you have to do, but also taking care of the jails. I would ask that you not vote on this issue with the conflict that you have.
I understand, but I think that's a conflict that the trust just being born put the sheriff in. I think when you assumed the responsibilities of the sheriff running the facility, but you put him or her or whoever the sheriff is at the time on a position to sit on a board representing the county, his office as well, and the trust. I think that's something that's naturally always going to occur. I will always advocate for my guys and gals that I serve, and that would be no different regardless of any board I sat on.
Would you advocate for the employees at the jail?
I was the one who voted on the raises this year.
Thank you very much. The jail trust does not have anybody on the budget board, unfortunately, so they're not able to argue this at the budget board. The sheriff and the commissioners are on the budget board, but the jail trust does not have anyone, and they're one of the biggest responsibilities of the county.
Sheriff,
You got something, Jim?
Yeah, I'd like to say just there is, regardless of what happens with the money, there's going to have to be some semblance of some agreement, because we have a hard custody transfer going on between two entities. I mean, there's a lot of other things besides the financials that are contemplated within that agreement, and we've discussed them. So there's who's responsible for food, what happens if one of them gets injured or has a medical issue, who does what, how does that, so there's lots of other stuff. So there's going to have to be some sort of agreement, regardless of what happens with the financials. And I'd also say that I've heard in more than one setting from legal representation of several people, that the trust stepped into the sheriff's shoes the instant it was implemented. So the argument that statute indicates that it's solely the sheriff's responsibility, I don't think is completely accurate. So
The sheriff's handbook, I've read the 2018 and the 2015 and 2022, I think, and it does give the sheriff, in the case of a jail trust, it gives the sheriff the responsibility at the courthouse for the food and care of the detainees. And it is in there, and I did not bring that sheet of paper that had all the statutes and the references on when, in the case of a jail trust, the responsibilities for the sheriff, the responsibilities for the jail. But when they're at the courthouse, the sheriff's handbook does give the responsibility for the care of the detainees to the sheriff.
I don't know that the OSA's curriculum for the sheriff's academy is the sole legal Bible in this instance, but I mean, that's going to have to get decided by somebody else.
What would the sheriff's handbook be then? It's put out by the state.
I believe it's put up by OSA.
Okay.
I don't know.
Madam Clerk, just
discussion here.
let the record state that Mr. Anderson appeared at the request of Sheriff Johnson, please.
I have a question for Ms. Gardner. As you stated, you're neutral on this, but did I mishear that you said this has been negotiated and agreed to?
The terms of it, as far as what he's discussing, who's responsible for meals and who's responsible for purchasing things like handcuffs and shackles, and what does the medical care look like? Those are the terms that I have said no problem to. As far as the financial piece, yes, being able to hold on to that money and repurpose it for my staff, especially since I'm still losing staff to the juvenile center and the sheriff's office, is a problem. And I would like to have that money, but I also understand his predicament. And quite frankly, it puts me in a very precarious situation to comment either way.
Welcome to my world. And the sheriff's.
Pastor?
I fully understand both sides of the coin. I understand Sheriff Johnson's position. I understand Ms. Arnold's position as well. But I do not feel like that the jail trust should be responsible for this expense. Uh, so considering that's my thought, I would hope that there's some way that we can suspend this, put this off until the budget board actually could look at this, and hopefully they can find a way to come up with the finance that's needed. Because considering everything that I have looked at here, I know for me, the way I would have to vote on it. Again, I understand both sides, but there's no, we really don't have the money. So, and we only get the money from what the budget board allocates. And considering we're talking 5 years later, 2018 to 2023, and we are at or below where we were then, and really we're below because now we have to consider underwriting things like $250,000. And I just don't see that that is solely, or really in any way, shape, or form, the jail trust responsibility. But it has to be paid. But here's the biggest variable. Come HE double hockey sticks or high water, the detainees they're going to get to where they need to go. That's just going to happen. There's no way that they're going to sit there. And if it does get to that point, then a budget board would make a decision to come up with the money.
I think the one thing that has to be discussed as well, if we talk about denying this and we talk about not assuming this financial responsibility, if the budget board reversely says, okay, I understand you don't want this to be a part of your budget, we'll just take that 750 out and roll it over to the sheriff's office budget. Now you've lost either way. Right?
Well,
like, as
we
far as
can't
that,
we
you're
can't
still paying it.
control
You're
we
still paying it.
cannot control what the budget board does.
Mhm.
And if they make that decision, we will absolutely have to live with it. I don't think it's a situation we lose because of the fact.
I mean, as
Yeah.
far as losing
Yeah,
the
if
funds
that's
to
the
the same.
decision they make, then we have to accept that. But I think we have to at least give. I have, and I mean this is not a sarcastic statement. I have confidence in the people sitting on the budget board that they will make the right decision. They understand where did we just find $750,000? So it sounds to me, I don't know when the next meeting is, but it sounds to me somewhere within the next 2 to 3 weeks, it'll be figured out one way or the other. I mean, and then we just have to live with the consequences of that. But we know that the detainees are going to get to where they need to go, and then obviously is if they say if they don't agree to that of just taking it and paying the sheriff's department, then it's going to come right back to us, and then we have to make a decision. And if we vote it down when it comes back to us, then it's going somewhere, and eventually the money. Yes, you all need to be paid, but Lord, we don't. I just don't know where we have it. I appreciate the CEO saying she's okay with it, but I know she's not fully okay with it. So
I did bring the indenture, and it specifically states that the jail trust is not responsible for the transportation, and I have it in highlight. I brought one for everybody if they would like to read it, but it's really clear.
Well, I appreciate
And
the board and I
the jail
appreciate the
trust,
debate. I think I can appreciate the sentiments from everyone and what they all expressed up here. Thank you.
but it's not the jail trust responsibility for any of that, including at the courthouse, to pay for any of it, to take responsibility for it once they leave the jail. And to go to the courthouse, it's not the jail trust responsibility.
As a matter of personal information, I'm going to direct a question to council, which is based upon the way this item is presented. Does the trust have the ability, and this is not being offered as a motion, this is being offered as a request for clarification, to accept the terms as written, exclusive of the financial implications, and to adopt a resolution to ask the county board, budget board, to make a determination? Do we have that latitude?
Your agenda item says discuss and possible action to approve a memorandum. Now, if you table the item, you can certainly do that. But as far as, I'm not sure what you mean by approving some other item, but
No, so my sense was, is it possible to amend the motion or to amend the memorandum to effectively strike the financial obligations? And then in a second in a second item related to this topic, to consider a resolution, whereas we might ask the budget board to make a determination on the financial obligation.
well, you didn't leave the option to
Okay.
amend in the agenda item, but it doesn't make any difference to me because what you're suggesting would be in the form of a counter offer to the sheriff's office, and then they would have to respond, and they may not have to respond in this meeting.
Understood.
Action, possible action, approving as amended.
In reading the MOU, it gives the jail trust responsibilities that doesn't have otherwise. And so that's why I would oppose the entire memorandum. I agree with um, with Jim. I agree with him that we probably do have to have some type of agreement for just the transfer at the jail to them. But we're taking on quite a bit more responsibility in this memorandum, where we're saying that we're saying that the jail trust maintains legal custody, constructional, and actual of all detainees once they're at the courthouse. And it also provides that the jail trust will provide meals. And in the sheriff's handbook, which is straight from statutes, it reads that the jail trust, when there's a jail trust, they're not responsible for meals or anything at the courthouse. That's just the way that's the law. We'd have to change the law to take on these responsibilities. Otherwise, we will be contrary to the law.
Is there any further questions?
Have they looked at this? Have you guys looked at this agreement? Have you delved into any of the questions being asked?
We have looked at the agreement as to form, but as far as any of the questions you're raising, no.
Okay.
But the form of it is legal.
Okay.
What is the pleasure of the body?
I would like to make a motion that we table this until the Oklahoma County Budget Board looks at it and makes a determination on it.
You have heard the motion to table. Is there a second?
I don't know that we can have a motion to wait for the budget, like maybe table it till the next meeting and see if the budget board has acted by then. I don't think we should.
Would you
leave it
accept that amendment?
I
open-ended.
would accept that amendment.
Yeah, I just don't think we can leave it open if it takes them 3 months to make a decision.
So the revised motion is a motion to table until the December meeting of the trust. Is that right?
That's the motion I'm making.
Are you seconding? The motion was at the table. He accepted your amendment.
Yes.
There has been a motion and a second to table this item until the December regularly scheduled trust meeting. Any discussion? Oh, that's right. That's right. It's a privileged motion. Thank you. Please call the roll. The motion, the vote before you is the motion to table. Yes.
Yes.
No.
Click.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
The motion to table passes. Now we move to agenda item number 9, which is a discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 2023-4626, setting the cost of incarceration. Are we prepared to present this today?
We are, was it attached? We were trying to determine if it was actually attached to the agenda or not.
It wasn't, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay,
It was not attached, but it doesn't have to be. Once you present it here, it becomes a public document and discoverable.
gotcha. Okay. Chris can give you the numbers, but basically the reason that we're doing this is it gives us the ability to use this in negotiation with our contracts for municipal providers. In addition, we went ahead and did this a little bit earlier than what is normally done. Typically, it's done in the spring. That way, a district judge can sign off on that being our cost of incarceration for the next fiscal year. We'll already have all that information available whenever the district judge decides that it's time to set that next cost of incarceration. And he can give you some of the information on the numbers. Basically, we've got it broken down a couple of different ways. Chris, on
I apologize. I don't have the physical document here, so I'm trying to look at this and it's hard. So right now, our average daily rate currently is now $66.49, and this is from MGT. Our rate for the first day of incarceration is $211.87, and then every subsequent day after that is $61.74.
I thought that day 2 was 111 or 100 and something.
So in the report, they've broken it down many different ways. They've given us a lot of different options. That's just one example of it. Ultimately, when it comes down to the negotiations, we can use that information however we need to. When it comes to setting the cost of incarceration for next fiscal year with a judge, there will be a flat rate. We won't be able to expect that they're going to do the 211 because a lot of times those costs are passed on to the detainee upon release or rolled into fines and costs. So
You've heard a report on agenda item number 9. Is there an action that represents the pleasure of this body?
Motion to approve resolution.
There's been a motion to accept the resolution.
Can you present that resolution to the clerk? Do you have a hard copy of it? Do you have a hard copy of this resolution?
I do not.
Okay.
And there's no excuse other than the last couple of days I've been out sick with the flu and doing the best that I can.
No, it's fine. We could probably get one here pretty quick. I'm sure.
Commissioner, are you accepting maybe we defer this?
Until we could get it.
Okay.
The only reason, is this going to affect us? Sue Ann, I think you're part of this too. Is this going to affect us Tuesday?
It could.
I don't agree with it. I'll tell you ahead of time I vote on this.
Okay. Well, I was thinking that, so we've got a discussion with City of Oklahoma City to go through negotiations on Tuesday. If we don't think it's going to hamper anything, we could
Just table
strike this item and then bring it back with the attachment, which I'll withdraw my motion if that's
Motion has been withdrawn. Ms. Garner, do you prefer to withdraw the agenda item?
Yes.
Unless there's objection from the trust, we will consider the item withdrawn. Agenda item number 10 is the announcement of our next regularly scheduled meeting. It is December the 4th, 2023 at 1 o'clock in this room. No action required on that item. Agenda item number 11 is a discussion and possible action regarding the dates and times of the 2024 regularly scheduled meetings for the Criminal Justice Authority. This has been requested by the clerk of the board. It does represent a date change from the first Monday of the month to the second Monday of the month. And those dates have been vetted against availability, correct? What is the pleasure of the trust?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any debate or discussion? All those in favor of accepting the proposed meeting schedule, please signify by saying aye when the roll is called. Yes.
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 The motion passes. We now move to agenda item number 12. Agenda item number 12, a discussion and possible action to direct staff to make a request to the Board of County Commissioners for ARPA funding in the amount of $1.5 million for remodeling the receiving area of the detention center. Ms. Arnall, I believe this might have been one of your requested items. Is that correct?
Yes, we've met with the county commissioners, and they believe that they can find the money to help us with this. The reason for the request is we're going to be in the jail minimum 3 years, probably 5. And right now it is a huge mess in the bookends and also in the bookouts, basically. And it's dangerous in there. And we had several incidents over the last 5 years with assaults in the area because it's just not open and we don't have enough staff. With this, if we change the first floor in the bookend area, then we would be able to have direct line of sight for the few staff we do have there. It would also help with the diversion liaisons, with all the different diversion groups who would like to help redirect people once they get out of the jail. And it also it's going to help with the assessments, with the assessments for mental and physical stability. It will also, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't write everything that it's going to help. It's not going to be the miracle drug, but it truly will help us with incoming detainees.
Ms. Arnold, what I think I hear you saying is that us asking the commissioners to consider this will increase the amount of social distancing that we're able to provide inside the jail in order to qualify for these funds.
That's absolutely what I meant.
Thank you.
It will also increase the book-in time so that police will not be standing outside waiting and wasting 2 hours at a time for someone to be booked in, because there will be a bigger facility where they don't have to be under an individual officer's sight.
And my understanding is we need to do this today to be able to have it in on time to apply for the funding, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Motion.
There's been a motion. Is there a second on this item? It has been moved and seconded. Any further questions or discussion on the item? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll? Yes.
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 Motion passes 7-0. The next item on the agenda calls for any board comments or general remarks. Are there any of those to be offered today? Seeing none, is there any new business to be considered by the trust? In the purposes of the Open Meeting Act, new business is defined as any matter not known about or which could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the time and posting of the agenda. Any new business to be offered? Seeing none, we will now move to executive session. This is authorized under different items which are publicly stated on your agenda. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to enter into executive session and a recess. Would the clerk please call the roll? Yes.
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 We are at recess for the purposes of executive session.
You ran enough to know that everybody has different rules, even though they're supposed to all be the same rules. There you.
At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to reconvene after executive session. It's been moved. Is there a second? Okay, if you'd please call the roll. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
We have returned from executive session. No action will be discussed or taken on items 17 or 20. We have two items to address, item number 18 and item number 19. Number 18 relates to claims in bond versus Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. What is the pleasure of the trust?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve $6,000 for depositions in this case.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second on this item. Is there any debate or discussion? We can't have any. Let's move to a vote. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And item number 19, which is Kaufman versus Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. What is the pleasure of the trust?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for $5,000 for depositions and to engage outside counsel.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second related to agenda item number 19. At this point, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll. Yes.
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 The item is passed. There being no other business to come before the trust, I declare the meeting adjourned.